Hi, my name is James Wildman. I'm the Humane Educator for the Animal Rights Foundation of Florida. Been vegan for about 19 years, went vegan about 2003. Before that, I was actually vegetarian. I went vegetarian in 1997. It was the first day of college, and there was two lines. I first want to say that I went vegan for ethical reasons. Went vegetarian, well, let me explain. It was the first day of college, and there was two lines. There was a hamburger line and a veggie burger line. And I went to a small university in New England, and it was just, on that first day, it was just freshmen, no upperclassmen. And they broke us up into small groups, and my group happened to be composed of 9 women and myself. I wasn't complaining, but everybody was quiet, shy, nobody was really talking. And when lunch came, most of the women in my group went to the vegetarian line for the veggie burger. And like a raging 18-year-old heterosexual, I just followed suit. But I was not a vegetarian. I was a meat eater, carnivore, apex predator, top of the food chain. Look at my canines. But the woman in front of me turns around, looks at me, and says, "Oh, are you a vegetarian?" I looked at her and I said, "I am now." So I did not go vegetarian for noble reasons. It was only after college that I started to become more introspective and realize or recognize, why am I actually doing this? I did it for a social experiment to begin with, but after college I read the book Animal Liberation by Peter Singer, sort of the Bible of animal rights. And it just made sense. You know, I was consuming dairy and eggs, and I really didn't think anything of it. But once I recognized the harm that I was causing, the suffering that I was causing simply because I wanted to satisfy my taste buds, I decided this just isn't ethical. It's not something I want to support. And from there, I decided that perhaps this is something that I should explain to others as well. And so I've kind of made it now my mission to empower others through compassion, through empathy, through sustainable and healthy living. So I went vegan when I was 20, 22 or 23, and I didn't really notice any difference. I mean, I was just kind of always active. I like to run, so I didn't have any kind of physical difference, which was fine. But I think mentally, I started to recognize that, you know, what we do to animals is just not ethically acceptable. And those things that we do to animals are the similar things that we do to people and to the environment. So I just started to make more of a connection of, you know, how we oppress animals is the same way that we oppress people, is the same way that we oppress the environment. So I just made the connection that the tools used to oppress non-human beings are the same tools used to oppress human beings. And I started to recognize and become more aware of what society does, and I decided that, you know, this is a small part that I can do to make a change, and it just opened up my mind to other things as well. So I'm still vegan for ethical reasons, and it will always be the ethics. As I get older, I care more about my health. I no longer think I'm Superman, and so it's nice to have the health benefits that go along with being vegan. But people can cheat on their health, and I'm known to cheat on my health. I like candy and sugar products, but I'm not going to cheat on my ethics. So I remain vegan for ethical reasons, and then, of course, the environmental implications that raising animals for food has. So that's just another part of why I choose to be vegan. I think everybody has their own reasons for why they do things, and for veganism, you know, it can be for your health, for the environment, for animals, or it can be a combination of all three. And so, you know, every movement begins with one. So as a society, we're constantly evolving. Society isn't stagnant. It constantly evolves. This is just a logical progression, evolution of our society, of humanity in general. So it's just extending our compassion to other beings, not just human beings, but animal beings as well. So again, that's why I think ethics are so important. But obviously, you know, when you look at the health implications, I mean, heart disease is a leading cause of death in the United States as well as in Europe. So it's not being caused by an overconsumption of fruits and vegetables. It's high saturated fat, high cholesterol. So, you know, this is one way that we can combat the pandemic that's happening in terms of the health that we're experiencing. And obviously, global warming and the issues of raising animals for food and what that does to the environment. So it just seems like, again, an obvious progression. We evolve as a culture. We're constantly becoming more inclusive and not exclusive. So this is just part of the evolutionary process of society and humanity in general. So my job is to go into schools, universities, and to empower youth and adults through compassion, through empathy. And so for the most part, I generally spend the school year talking about veganism. And so I try to encourage compassion and health. I don't tell the kids what to do. I try to get them to come to their own conclusions. And one of the ways I do that is by making their own behaviors seem rather absurd and humorous. So when you can get people to laugh at their own behaviors, like drinking the milk of another species and why that actually is rather absurd and unhealthy and incredibly cruel as well, if they can laugh at their own behaviors, they're more likely to question their behaviors and then perhaps adopt something that's more humane, more healthy, and more sustainable. So for the most part, I generally give about 500 presentations every year on veganism, as well as on animal testing, wildlife conservation, specifically looking at animals in captivity, circuses, zoos, and marine parks. And I also give presentations on cats and dogs, the importance of going to your shelter, adopt, as opposed to buying a cat or dog, buying a life, and also looking at puppy mills and positive reinforcement training, stuff like that. So yeah, I spend most of my time in schools or anybody or anywhere that somebody would want me to present to them or for them. So I give presentations also on how to give effective presentations. And so one of the things that I found to be effective is, again, you have to think of yourself as being in the audience and what would you find engaging. Part of it is just making it humorous. I mean, nobody wants to be told what to do, especially what to eat. But also, when I talk to youth specifically, I don't use the word veganism when I'm doing a vegan presentation until the very end, because I don't want their preconceived notions. And I view it as sort of like a chess match. I want to know their moves before they know their moves. I want to be 2 moves ahead of them. So I'll bring up the issues that I know that are going to come up before they can even think about it. So what about protein? What about calcium? What about, other animals eat other animals? And so again, just basically beating them to the punch. And so at the end of the presentation, like, oh, this is what veganism is. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound too bad at all. So again, you're aware of the questions that they're going to have, and you answer them before they can even think about asking them. But again, you also want to make it relevant. You want to make it part of everyday life. So one of the things I do when I talk about animal testing is I show them a picture that I took at a gas station. And the picture actually, you can see it pretty much in any gas station in the United States. The pillars have a warning that says, prolonged exposure to gas vapors has been known to cause cancer in laboratory animals. So I asked the kids, where do you think I took this picture? And eventually somebody would say, a gas station. And how many of you have been to the gas station before? And they all raise their hand. And I say, okay, what does this mean in terms of animal testing? In fact, what does long-term mean? What is your definition of long-term? Is it a day, a week, a month, a year, a decade? So what does it mean for the person that works at the gas station? So what does it mean in terms of animal rights and animal testing? And if I were to say to you, long-term exposure in the room you're in right now has been known to cause cancer in laboratory animals, what would that now mean to you? So you'd probably get the hell out of the room. So again, we have to make it relevant. We have to make it something that is applicable to their life right now. And I went vegan at the age of 22. I was already out of the house. So it was just an independent decision. I had no concern about family and what their thoughts. And one of the things I always mention with students is that you should never have to compromise your health and compassion for somebody else's ignorance. People are so worried about what other people think. But again, if you are passionate, if you are committed to this cause, then you shouldn't have to compromise it for somebody else. So it wasn't really a big deal. I just simply decided I'm going to be vegan. And like most vegans, I was actually vegetarian before I was vegan, and I replaced as a vegetarian, I replaced all my meat with cheese, which is just super unhealthy. And the dairy industry is perhaps the cruelest industry. I hate to use the word cruelest. I mean, they're all cruel, but the animals are suffering for a longer period of time. So once I recognized that, it was a very easy decision. One of the things I talk to students about is I said, look, if I were to bring in a hamburger, a cheeseburger into the room right now, into the classroom, I imagine many of you would start to salivate. In fact, some of you would probably want to come up and eat it. I said, wait, hold on, don't you want to know what it's made out of? It's made out of dog meat. You'd be like, oh, hell no, you'd have a seat. So nobody wants to eat dog meat. All I do is change the name of it. Just change the name of the meat. It's no longer a cow, it's a dog, and it's no longer appealing. It could be just as tasty, hell, it could be even more tasty, but you don't want to know, you don't want to find out. And so that's how I view the food that I eat, or that you're eating. I recognize where it comes from, and it comes from a place of suffering. And so it's a very easy, conscious decision. That's why I didn't struggle. And I know for younger people, there can be a struggle. There can be, especially in certain cultures, and this idea of food is just the centerpiece of a culture. So again, just do the best you can. It's okay to slip up. Tomorrow's a new day. Just don't give up. So when I think back on my childhood, like most kids in the United States, I was raised to eat meat, dairy, eggs, and fish. Which interesting is my mom was vegetarian my entire life. She's vegan now. And my dad actually went vegetarian at the age of 70. So anybody who says that they can't go vegetarian or vegan is kind of bullshit. And if my dad can do it at 70, anybody can do it. But yeah, I never really thought about it, never questioned it. Interestingly enough is that we always had dogs in the house. My parents rescued dogs, big dogs, small dogs, all different types. And I loved the dogs that we had. They were part of our family. And yet, at the same time, I was consuming the dead animals that were in the refrigerator and the freezer. And I never made that connection. And again, it was just never brought up. My mom was vegetarian. If my brother and I asked her why, she just simply said, I don't want to eat anything that has a face or that's to mother or father. So, it never was a really big deal. But now that I think about it now, and I ask my mom, I think she would have probably done things differently. Again, when I present, a lot of kids will ask, well, do you have kids? I said, no, I have dogs. They're vegan. They don't know they're vegan, but they're vegan. But would you raise your kids to be vegan? And I say, yeah. And all the kids go, ah. It's like, well, you know what? You weren't given a choice, so the parent chooses the diet for the child. And I will explain to that child when they're old enough why we choose this lifestyle. And if the child wants to consume animal products, animal flesh outside of the house, that's fine. That's their prerogative. But in the house, it's a vegan house. It's a reason because we're doing it for compassion. We're doing it for ethics. We're doing it for empathy. We're doing it for health. We're doing it for environmental sustainability. I don't regret my childhood. But I do feel that if I was raised vegan, my progression would have been a lot different, and especially in college, I would have been way more vocal and way more active in the community. And what I'm doing now, I hopefully would have been doing at an earlier age. My regret is simply just not knowing or not wanting to know. If I was, like I said, if I was vegan earlier, I would be doing the things that I'm doing now at an earlier age. So that would be the regret. But I can't go back. So I just basically do what I got to do right now. And a lot of people, the question in the beginning was, how long have you been vegan? So I had a friend who once said, it's when vegans meet, that's the big question. How long have you been vegan? The animals don't care how long you've been vegan. All they care about is if you're vegan right now. So it's really just, what are you doing right now? What are you doing to make this world a better place, to make it a more sustainable, healthy, and compassionate place? And veganism is a great way to start. It's not really a big deal. It's not a great achievement. It's just simply the most basic thing you can do if you want to do something, right? It's not really that extraordinary. It's just the very minimal that you can do is just be vegan. And with so many vegan products on the market, it really is as easy as it's ever been. And it's only going to get easier. So I didn't go vegan right away. I was vegetarian before that, and again, it was for selfish, social, experimental reasons. I didn't want to know. I really didn't want to know. As a vegetarian, I even said, at least I'm not vegan. So I even made fun of what I am today. And if you told me, like most vegans would say to you as well, that if you told me that today I'd be vegan and I'd be actively promoting it, I'd say, you're out of your mind. But it's because I didn't want to know. I didn't care to know. And nobody really pushed me to know. And so that's why I do what I do today. I do it because I want to give the information that wasn't given to me. And a lot of kids would be like, when I do a presentation at the end, sometimes they'll be like, are you trying to tell me what to do? And I was like, no, I'm just giving you the information. I'm not your daddy. I'm just here to provide you with information, and what you do with that information is up to you. And most people are receptive to that information. And most people will take that information and apply it some way into their life, whether it's consuming less animal products, switching from cow's milk to soy milk to almond milk to coconut milk to oat milk to flax milk to hemp milk to whatever milk it might be that's plant-based. So again, it's the small steps that do matter, and it's to encourage them that, you know, every day is an opportunity to do something better, to do something and to evolve into a better person, a better community, a better society, a better world. So I give presentations. I'm a human educator, and I actually have a degree in human education from the Institute of Human Education. The reason why I wasn't an advocate sooner is I actually have a fear of public speaking. I was very quiet as a child, pretty shy, at least in public settings, and still am. But because I'm passionate about this subject and because I think it's so important, those fears go away. And I ended up getting a master's degree in human education from the Institute of Human Education. And I decided to, now let me use this degree, and the Animal Rights Foundation of Florida had a position for human educator. It opened up. And so I feel comfortable. And one of the reasons why I like presenting in schools is, well, because school's like prison. I'm always guaranteed an audience, and the kids can't leave. So it's an opportunity. You know, people say it's like a soapbox. So yeah, I have that box, that pulpit I can stand on. And again, I like to make sure that the presentation is engaging, it's interactive, and, you know, just basically get them to critically think about the behaviors, the traditions, the cultures that they are participating in. Even if you have a fear of public speaking, if you're passionate and you're dedicated to a certain cause, it becomes that much easier to speak in public. So before I was vegan, I was vegetarian, and again, I replaced all meat with dairy, and I was like most vegetarians. I was obsessed with dairy. I would have cheese, pizza almost every day. And just, you know, when I was initially introduced to veganism, the idea of giving up the thing I loved was just, you know, beyond comprehension. But once I understood the issue, once I understood that I was participating in something that I didn't think was ethically acceptable, it really was no longer a struggle. It no longer became an issue. So yeah, I mean, it's a very simple process once you focus on the reasons why you're doing it. So you just want to stay positive, stay focused, and you stay strong. A lot of people, myself included, when I first heard about veganism, it's like, no, why would I want to do that? And it wasn't until I really learned about it that it made sense. And one of the reasons why it made sense is because I no longer was setting up barriers for myself. When people say to me, oh, it's going to be hard to give up cheese, I say, you're right, your attitude, it's piss poor. But if you have a bad attitude about it, you're already setting yourself up for failure. But if you have a positive attitude, like, I can do this. And again, it's okay to slip up, just don't give up. And that's why once I had that positive attitude, that mentality that, hey, I want to do this, and here are the reasons why I want to do it, it became that much easier. And the other thing that I think is important is that we need to stop thinking of this as a sacrifice. It's not a sacrifice. The sacrifice when I was eating meat, dairy, eggs, and fish, I was sacrificing the animal's life. I was sacrificing the health of the planet, and I was sacrificing my own health. It's not a sacrifice. You're not giving anything up. You're simply replacing. So once I recognized that, and I went vegan, you know, when there wasn't vegan cheese in the market, and if there was, it was god awful. Today, there's so many different varieties, from Yoko's to Follow Your Heart to Violife to Chow. So there's so many different vegan options. You can make your own cashew cheese as well. So you're not giving anything up, you're simply replacing. You replace a hamburger with a veggie burger, Beyond Meat, the Impossible Burger. They even have the Impossible Whopper at Murder King. So you can go to many of these places and get vegan options. It's not a sacrifice. You're simply, I'm asking you to replace. And that's what I recognize, is that I replace the foods I once ate with foods now that are more compassionate, more sustainable, healthier, and for the most part, taste the same. So if somebody wants to go vegan, I ask them to focus on the reasons why they want to be vegan. Focus on what has prompted you to this point in your life. Is it for ethics? Is it for your health? Is it for animals? Is it a combination of all three? And just focus on those reasons. Again, stay positive, stay focused, stay strong. So as long as you stay focused, it will be much easier for you to stay on that path. But definitely do your own research. There's some great websites out there in terms of health, in terms of the environment, in terms of the ethics. One of the things that I do is I've created a vegan shopping guide. It's a wallet-sized guide. It has over 100 different vegan products. On the back, it has nutritional information, meal plans, fast food vegan options. It has websites, where to go to eat, cooking recipes. And then I also created a vegan starter kit that's online. You can either email me at james@arff.org. I can send you that starter kit. Or you can visit the website, arff.org, go to the Human Education section, and then click on the Vegan Starter Kit image. You'll see a picture of a refrigerator that's slowly being opened. Use that as a resource as well. So this is the vegan shopping guide that I created. So again, it has over 100 different vegan products. You can find it pretty much any supermarket, from veggie chicken, veggie turkey, veggie beef, veggie pork, veggie fish products, dairy-free milks, dairy-free yogurts, dairy-free cheese, dairy-free ice creams. On the back, websites, nutrition information, meal plans, vegan food options. This is one resource, and again, you can email me, james@arff.org. I can send you this as a PDF. I can also send you the starter kit. There's a lot of good websites on here. One of the best, I think, for nutrition is veganhealth.org. That's done by, I think, 3 or 4 dietitians, all vegan, and very good. I like them because they're conservative in their approach. It's not like, they don't come out and say veganism is going to solve the world's problems. It's simply a very scientific way of looking at health and diet. And so, if you're vegan and you're a junk food vegan, it's not healthy. And you can be unhealthy on a vegan diet, but you can also be healthy on a vegan diet. And so you just need to make sure you're getting all your vitamins, your minerals, your nutrients. And so definitely I would check out that website. There's also, for websites, vegweb.com has a list of thousands of vegan recipes. Anything you might be wanting, whether it's pancakes or you want to make a burger, you can veganize it. And then there's documentaries. There's The Game Changers, which is streaming on Netflix. There's Cowspiracy, also on Netflix, that looks at the environmental implications of raising animals for food. So there's a lot of really good documentaries out there. I've done a YouTube presentation called 101 Reasons to Go Vegan. So there's that as well. And again, just do your research. Just Google veganism and you'll see thousands upon thousands of different articles and websites and other information out there. I think some people end up falling off the wagon, or going on the wagon, end up reverting back to consuming animal products because they lose focus. And again, it's very easy to cheat on your health. It's very easy to cheat on the environment if you don't see it happening immediately in front of you. I think we all recognize that the earth is warming and there's a lot more hurricanes and devastation that's happening, and it's becoming more intense. Drought and then floods. Again, it's very easy to just kind of look past that. But when you have the food in front of you and you didn't see the slaughter, you didn't see the suffering that took place to get that animal onto your plate. Yeah, it is easy to just kind of look past it. But if you recognize that what you're consuming is a product of violence, is a product of suffering, then how do you cheat on that? It's the same way that I'm not going to go and murder somebody unless I'm being physically attacked. I try to live by the golden rule: treat others or do unto others as you would have them do upon you. One of my favorite quotes is teaching a child not to step on a caterpillar means just as much to the child as it does to the caterpillar. And that's how I try to present. That's how I try to empower others, youth and adults. We all have that compassion inside of us. Either it becomes dormant or we suppress it through the actions of others, through what we have been taught. But most of us care about animals. Most of us care that we don't want animals to suffer. And the biggest cause of suffering to animals is the animals we eat. And so it's a very simple, logical, easy progression to make. If you care about animals, don't eat them. It's that simple. So I've been presenting on veganism and other animal rights issues for over 15 years. Yeah, I've seen a lot of change and a lot of progress in those 15 years. One of the things that I really like is that I was giving a presentation to an elementary school, the entire 5th grade class of an elementary school in Palm Beach County. And I was talking about wildlife conservation, specifically elephants, tigers, orca whales, and dolphins. And the presentation looks at animals specifically in captivity, circuses, zoos, and marine parks. And one of the activities I do in the beginning is I give them a piece of paper with one of 4 different animals in the middle. It's just a black and white drawing of a dolphin, a Norway whale, an elephant, or a tiger. And I say, draw the background for this animal. Put this animal in a habitat, environment, a place that you think they'd be happiest living in and can meet all their needs. 99 kids out of 100, 99 adults out of 100 will draw a savanna, a forest, a jungle, the ocean. Right? There's very rarely will somebody draw a circus, bars to represent the zoo, or a marine park, or a tank. And so I asked them, why did you draw what you drew? And it's because, well, this is their natural habitat. This is where nature intended for these animals to live. And so I asked them, if you feel that animals belong in nature, then why do we keep them in captivity? And of course, the 2 most common responses, entertainment and money. And are these justifiable reasons to continue this business that we have? And so what I ask students and youth and adults is, are your values in line with your actions? All right. So do your actions align with your values? And what I got that 5th grade class to do is they actually decided not to go on their end of the year field trip to SeaWorld. They decided they wanted to go somewhere else because they felt it wasn't compassionate. It wasn't the compassionate choice to make. So I thought that was pretty cool. I gave a presentation in Norway on veganism, and I was very nervous because I didn't know the culture. I remember I got there and I was like, do you guys know what peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are? Do you guys have squirrels? You ever heard of Simba, the Lion King? So I needed to make sure that all my cultural jokes would be applicable. And I was very nervous. And at the end of the presentation, I think there was over 100 people in the audience, they gave me a standing ovation. So I thought that was pretty cool. I've had classes where they've decided to start vegan clubs, animal rights clubs, after the presentation. I've had kids come up to me and tell me when I come back the following year that they've gone vegan, or they no longer consume cow's milk or hen periods. There's definitely been changes. I like to see more. When people talk, a lot of people will be like, I hope for change. Hope, as I like to quote an environmental writer, Derek Jensen. So he says, like, hope is defeatism. Like, when you're on a plane, I hope it doesn't crash. Why? Because you're not flying the plane. You have no control over it. I don't hope to create a more compassionate world. I am working to create a more compassionate world. That's what activism is. So I don't hope to see something better. I work to see that it becomes better. And that's the mission I make. I actually have a joke that I'm hoping for my I'm hoping for my boss. I'm working for my boss to lay me off. I want my boss to come up to me and say, James, we don't need you anymore. You've done your job. The world is vegan, and you can now do something else. And so that's what I'm working for. I don't hope for it, I work for it. So let's work to make this a better world. So I think the future of veganism is actually in lab-grown meat, in clean meat. I kind of see that's the way of the future. So it's incredibly sustainable. It's actually maybe more sustainable than the products on this vegan guide. It requires less land. It requires less energy, less water. And so I do think that I think that's the way of the future, is that clean meat, lab-grown meat. But until then, Beyond Meat, Impossible Burgers, Gardein, that's the replacements to use. As for myself, I have no desire to eat clean meat, lab-grown meat. The desire is no longer there. But I have no ethical issues with it. In fact, perhaps it could be even healthier. Maybe they can make it so it's less cholesterol, less saturated fat. That's the way I see the future going. As for myself, there's no way I'm consuming animal products again. I mean, I always have kids say, well, what about if you were on a desert island? Well, how the hell did I get on the desert island? I'll tell you one thing. If you and I were on the desert island, I'd eat you. You do something to survive. There's self-preservation. But we don't live in that environment. There's a supermarket in every block. We don't live in that culture. So we have access to food. Now, if someday along the line we live in a zombie apocalypse, then sure, maybe something changes. But let's focus on what's happening right now. And right now, we all have access to healthy, compassionate, sustainable food. And that food is vegan. So I love fruits and vegetables. I love rice and beans. I love coming to Anika Foods. It's a vegan restaurant in Wilton Manors, near Fort Lauderdale in Florida. And if you ever get a chance, stop by. The twins that own it are amazing people. And so I love to eat their food, vegan pizza, vegan calzones, vegan empanadas. So yeah, I eat everything most people eat, just in plant form, no sacrifice, just replace. When you go vegan, you need to understand what's important, the vitamins and minerals. A lot of people talk about B12 and omega-3. And, to be honest, I take a B12 supplement. Taking a supplement doesn't negate anything about veganism. Everything we do is unnatural. Taking a supplement is unnatural, so is wearing clothes, so is being in front of a camera right now and giving an interview. Everything we do is unnatural. And everybody takes supplements. Whether you're eating meat, whether you're a vegetarian or you're vegan, you are taking supplements. You might not realize it, but the animals are being supplemented. So yeah, I take a B12 supplement just to err on the side of caution. But keep in mind that B12, a lot of plant milk, soy milk, oat milk, almond milk, coconut milk, pea milk, just the worst name for a milk, but comes from peas. That is also supplemented with B12. Granola bars, Cliff bars are fortified with B12. A lot of cereals, including Cheerios, are fortified with B12. And then there's also nutritional yeast that can be fortified with B12. It has a very cheesy-like flavor. You can put it on pastas and salads. So there's other ways to get B12 just with fortified, same with vitamin D. I live in South Florida, so just 10, 15 minutes of sunlight does the trick. Just be careful of skin cancer. And then there's also omega-3s. And remember, the original source of all nutrients are from plants. So omega-3s, you can get flax seeds, hemp seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts. But again, just make sure that you get a variety of plant-based foods in your diet. The more color in your diet, the healthier you will be. But again, I also like to send people to veganhealth.org. They're, again, a very conservative approach in veganism. Again, it's not like it's saying like it's going to solve the world's problems, cure cancer. But if it's done right, it's done healthy. I've been working with youth for over 20 years, so I would still be working with youth. I try to empower others through just compassion. So I mean, if I wasn't an activist, I still would be an activist in some other way. If the world was vegan, I would be focusing on another issue. And I want to keep in mind that this isn't an us or them issue. This isn't like, you only care about animals. No, I believe that veganism is a great platform to extend compassion to all life on this planet, from animals to humans to non-humans to the environment. So it's just a great way to start. It's not going to solve all the world's problems, but it's a great way. And the idea that people come first, that's fine. That's fine if that's what you want to believe, great. But why do you have to eat a hamburger to help other people? So you can be vegan and still help and still focus on any other cause that you might be passionate about. And so that's why I want people to remember, that this isn't an us or them issue. This is all inclusive. Everything is interconnected. So, by caring about animals, you're caring about people. By caring about people, you should be caring about animals, and you're caring about the environment. It's all one and the same. So when I present, before I show the video, the slaughterhouse video, because I think it's important for people to recognize where their food is coming from. I can talk about it, I can show them pictures, but to really understand it, you have to see it, because it's so unbelievable. It's like the worst horror film there is, and it's real, and it's happening every day, every minute, every second. 300 animals are killed every second in the United States, just like that. It's important that people see what they're participating in, and they can make a conscious decision of whether they want to participate or not. And so right before the video, I use a quote: "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you mad." So I want people to get a little upset by what's happening. And I think when after the video, if people are upset, if they are angry, that's good. That's a normal, compassionate response, to be angry about what you're seeing, to be upset about what you're seeing, and now recognizing that you have the power to make a difference, to change what's happening. Remember, veganism doesn't change who you are. It just changes what you do. You can believe whatever you want to believe. You can believe in whatever religion you want to believe in. You can believe in any politics you want to believe in. It just changes who you eat, what you eat, where you eat. So that's one of the quotes I mentioned. Teaching a child not to step on a caterpillar means just as much to the child as it does to the caterpillar. I love quotes from Martin Luther King. The quote after the video is, "It's always the time to do right is always the right time." Something like that. I'm butchering it right now, but it's always the right time to do what's right. anything that just gets you to think critically, to get you to open up your mind and to not just be a follower in the actions of others, to question why we do the things we do. That's what I want people to do. I want people to critically think about their behaviors, about their culture, about their traditions, and ask yourself, again, is this in line with my ethics? Are my actions in line with the values I hold? And if they're not, it's very easy to change. It's very easy to change. You just have to want to. That's it. You have to want to change. So when I present, I always say, you know, when I die, I imagine people will still be eating meat, dairy, eggs, and fish, but not because of me. All right? So just because something happens doesn't mean that we have to participate in it. You know, a lot of kids will say, well, you know, it's going to happen no matter what. Well, yeah, sure, but so is violence and murder and theft is going to happen. Doesn't mean you wake up the next day and go, you know what, I'm going to murder somebody, because it's going to happen no matter what. If you don't agree with murder and theft, don't participate in it. If you don't agree with consuming the flesh and byproducts of animals, if it's unnecessary, which it is, then why participate in it? You have a choice in this game. I think that we'll come to a vegan world eventually, and I'm working to see that happen. I don't hope for it to happen. I'm working to see that it happens. And whether it's in my lifetime or not, that's out of my control. But what's in my control is what I can present to others, and what I can do in my own life. And I do think, again, that lab-grown meat, clean meat, is the way of the future. And you can feed billions of people on this type of technology. And we're constantly evolving in terms of our way of thinking, of our technology and how we do things. And so I just think it's just a logical progression that this will be the next step. But again, until that happens, there are so many great plant alternatives. Beyond Meat, Gardein, Impossible, Tofurkey, which is like the goat or the OG, as they say, of the plant-based movement. Get a shopping guide, contact me. I'll be more than happy to help you on this path. Any questions you might have, james@arff.org, james@arff.org. And again, stay positive, stay focused, stay strong. If you guys are interested in scheduling a presentation, the Animal Rights Foundation of Florida, we offer free presentations to schools, universities, community centers, whatever it might be. I've done pretty much everything there is, other than maybe a birthday party, which could be kind of depressing. Yeah, whatever you're interested in, I can do. The presentations are free. I focus on South Florida and Florida. If you're interested in having a presentation virtually, we can easily set that up. If you want me to come to another state, another country, we don't really have the budget for travel, but if you're willing to pay for that budget, then I'll be more than happy to come out. Again, there's no fee for the presentation itself, though. So again, contact me, james@arff.org, and we can set something up. In the meantime, you can also check out our YouTube page. You can check out my Instagram, which is the James Wildman, and you can also check out 101 Reasons to Go Vegan, and stay strong.